Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a smashing good time. January recruitment month.
Come along, I come along in the ring.
I would not want to hear that. I would not Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Welcome to Dynamite Download. As you heard, episode 42 here, baby. We are rain or shine. Literally, we're here. Crayfish is out of power, but it's not stopping him from showing face here. So bear with us here on Dynamite Download, episode 42. No power, big storms here in Michigan, but it didn't stop us from watching AEW's debut on the road. They've hit in the road. They're leaving Daly's place, and the Road Rager is back. And was it ever an awesome night of AEW wrestling, man? Woo! So much happened in such little time. I could not keep up.
I love the, to me, I love that energy, that vibe that only a live crowd can bring. That passion.
Oh my gosh.
Hot tonight. They even made sure that they were part of the action. Just absolutely a good time tonight. As this was getting closer and closer, you knew that AEW was starting to add more and more layers to the show.
Of course.
A lot of great stuff tonight, man. A couple big debuts. We got to see the in-ring debut of Andrade, and a
surprise
debut with Malachi Black, aka Tommy End, aka Aleister Black. The man, when he may have many names, but there's only one look. That dude has such a unique presence and look to him. Immediately got everyone to go crazy. Definitely has the wrestling world a buzz right now.
That's for sure. And he was one of the guys that I picked. I mean, we all, I think, unanimously said, like, this guy would fit so perfect in AEW when we saw all those WWE releases. And I was surprised. And, our resident writer, Booking by Bonds, he told us that they were able to get out. He was able to get out of his 90-day clause because most wrestlers are. I don't know. I have to, talk to him a little bit more about this. But I guess there's, threats of suing. So this was a much quicker debut than some others because of the 90-day clause. So
yeah, I mean, honestly,
great.
You think about it, like, big picture, like, all right, like budget cuts, or you can, honestly, you can make WWE can make whatever moves that company sees fit, right? Like,
right.
No judgment, it's a business, but a 90-day no compete clause,
yeah,
that's pretty lousy. Just to have that kind of like language in someone's contract. I just think that that's just something that is kind of a low blow, and it's hard to argue in WWE's favor in that regard. It's just like you can't make a living for 3 months basically because
that's no severance pay, I'm sure. And it's like, what are you supposed to do? Go work at McDonald's and flip burgers to get whatever, and you're not going to be collecting unemployment. Like it's shitty. It's really shitty. I was listening to
right, and it makes it easier for us to root for people like Tommy and Andrade and these people who are leaving.
The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, the people who are leaving WWE and finding great success outside of the company, right? Yeah,
and speaking of someone who left WWE and made the best of it, I mean, we have an EVP himself, Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall in a South Beach strap match that started off the night. And I was really, if you listen to our show and Team Dynamite Download, we are huge Factory, huge QT Marshall fans. Crayfish has a bowling shirt. We got it for his birthday for a reason, because he sees star power and star potential in QT Marshall. That being said, this slow demise, the slow squishing of the anthill, finally, it happened tonight, and it really where you go from here. It's I think the factory is done with the night. The feud is done. I think they have to regroup now with something, and just kind of reassess what they have to do. We didn't even get QT Marshall's entrance. And it was a fun, hard fought match for sure. But predictable match with the sense that we talked on Friday night about the Cody Rhodes getting the John Cena treatment, which we need in AEW. You need someone to go out there and always, give out high fives and hugs and autographs and stuff. Every company needs that. But the pairing with QT Marshall, because we're so high on that, it just hits a little harder for us, I think. I think it was any other feud, I think we would be more happy about that. But it's quickly becoming that John Cena style where it's like you like them, but you don't want to keep seeing them win.
Right.
Give some other guys some rubs.
Right.
And essentially, so the fans were eating up Cody all night, and as they should, as I would. I'm a Cody Rhodes fan, and I have a Cody Rhodes shirt, not on right now. Essentially, it's a Cody Rhodes shirt. He's an EVP coming through.
That's right.
And Cody Rhodes, did his Captain America, like when he got hit with those straps from QT Marshall and didn't even flinch and was essentially like hulking up. That was brutal. Like, I mean, I've taken chops from you, and just to not flinch out of adrenaline is a lot. I mean, those are leather straps. So that's not bubble wrap you're getting hit with, You saw the welts on his back.
Absolutely. The man has gone through, and I mean, we've seen it time and time and time again. Cody will put himself through whatever it takes in order to make sure that the fans go home happy. And I know that I'm in the vocal minority. It seems like when I get the pulse out there, that I love QT Marshall. I love what this guy's done.
You created a fan out of me.
I think that his story is compelling and really captivating as far as a person to root for. And I know that it might be an unpopular thing to say, but I think that his character work has been fantastic. I think that his promo work has been on point. Every time he's gotten an opportunity, particularly in this feud with Cody, I feel like QT's done a great job. His promos are always on point. I think that he's leaned into a character that's really working for him. And I can say, in true Dynamite download fashion, I'm going to try to find the silver lining in all this. I'm disappointed in how the feud went. I think that, as you said, it felt like a slow suffocation, right? It was just slowly choking the life out of this group. We continue to have here, we talked about it at length. Like, we continue to talk about, okay, when are they going to get the win? Okay, it's not going to be a go-go at the pay-per-view. We thought it was going to be a go-go. Nope. All right, it's going to be QT. No, not now. The South Beach strap match. I mean, all of us, particularly like on Friday night Fights and Flights, we were all pretty convinced, like, all right, like QT's getting the revenge here. He's going to get the win here. And it wasn't really even close. Even before the show, I mean, I know everybody was seeing from the beginning when QT didn't even get an opportunity to have his own entrance.
I know. You knew that was not good.
Not a good sign. Not a good sign.
That's a hill that it's a tough hill to climb up when you're faced against Cody Rhodes, like Mr. Entrances. And so, I mean, it's a great way for Cody to kick off the show. I mean, I think you should have gave QT Marshall, especially the build of this match, a build of this feud, at least give him his due, on TV. He deserves it.
Well, that was what
I think he did great in the match. I think, he was vicious with the straps and the slaps. He was, an awesome diamond cutter. And then, the nail in the coffin when he spit in his face and then got the triple Cody, triple crossroads for the finish. Like, it was a good finish, but, sadly, after this, the factory is going to have to regroup. But in Dynamite download fashion, power, positivity, and uplifting others, we're not giving up on QT Marshall. No. The transformation he's had and the stuff he's producing is top notch, and we are all behind it. Our bowling shirts are on order. We're going to get it. All the colors of the rainbow when we come see him and All Out. We're going to be wearing them loud and proud, baby. So I don't think this is not the last we're going to see of Marshall. It was just a disappointing end to this feud because I think that you can't go anywhere from here.
Yeah, agreed. That was my my big thing was looking for the silver lining, SPD. Even though this feud did not play out in a way that, presented the factory in a strong light.
Right.
When push comes to shove, they lost in all the big moments. I do think that the positive thing out of all this is that we did get to see the emergence of QT Marshall and the personality and persona that he's been able to develop, and he really delivered.
Forget about it.
He's done a good job with that. I think we all here agree at Dynamite Download the factory and the emergence of that group, even with the loss. The governor has a lot of pride. We know he's probably drunk, right now, recovering from both a hangover from the soccer game today and from surgery. He looked like he was having a good time, but Anthony Ogogo is a guy who we all agree has a ton of upside. Nick Camarado has gotten an opportunity to have some big matches. He main evented a Dynamite not that long ago, a road match against Dustin. So, looking at the positive side of this whole thing, at least we have had opportunities where characters have gotten a little extra layers of dimension to who they are. They've gotten good opportunities, and in the end, I guess we shouldn't be surprised that Cody came out on top, and that's, to me, one of the things that when you look at the debut of Malachi Black, it's like, okay, he's coming in against Cody. We'll see how this goes, because Cody doesn't go down usually. He usually wins the wars. So, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I have a feeling that, even though Cody has a newborn at home, he looks like he's not in any, rush to get away from AEW week to week. I think the guy is. I think he's going to be a staple of the show going forward. I really do think that with what we saw with Malachi, this chapter closed, a whole new one is starting with Cody Rhodes. I mean, that is immediately.
Let's talk about this, man, because it was a very obviously unexpected, a surprise. I mean, we had the lights go out in the first 5 minutes of the show. They blamed weather. I don't know if it was or was not. But, I mean, we had the lights go off again, and then Tommy N, Malachi Black appears, and did he ever get a freaking pop? And that was great. And I'm so excited for this, man. He's another one of the guys in WWE that I had potential, but they just did so crappy booking, I lost interest in him.
Yep.
And that was Andrade as well. And so two guys that are having a second resurgence of their career, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I always loved Tommy N's, Aleister Black's look, gimmick, entrance, like the total package of it. And clearly, I mean, the control of his kicks that we saw tonight on Aaron and in Cody, I think that, like you said, the chapter's closed, new and open. This one has to be, I mean, the pop that he got, how do you treat him as a heel, or is he going to be kind of just like this in-betweener, maybe like a Lance Archer in-betweener in a way? But I think we're going to see some great stuff out of him. Hopefully there's a face-to-face next week. I mean, you got to ride the tide, baby, with that momentum. And so this will be a good pivot. And I think finally you have a newcomer in and kind of shut Cody up and kind of, if you want to get some big heat, make Cody lose for sure. So the sky's the limit with Tommy N's, Malachi Black, whatever you want to say, his debut and his pairings. But to kick it off with the top guy, Cody, I think it's great.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes. I mean, he's coming in against the guy. So, that is a big moment for this guy. And I think, it'll be interesting, as you said, to see how his character plays out going forward. There's a lot of intrigue about what he can do. Clearly, like you said, has a very unique presence to him. The way he carries himself, the way he presents himself, it's going to click with the AEW fan base. And truthfully, SPD, his in-ring style is a type that you could throw in there with a wide variety. And they talked about that at length tonight about, even though it was a heel promo, they talked about how AEW has, lucha libre, they have Japanese strong style, everything in between. Tommy End's the type of guy who is going to fit right in,
Right.
and could be a guy who can mesh well with a lot of different people. And as you said, it'll be really intriguing to see what he's like without handcuffs on, right? Without a creative process that has so many layers to it that has led to a lot of performers having burnout, having fatigue, being jaded by the business. We've heard so many names come across now of the layers of bureaucracy that have to go on with the size and the creative process at WWE. It'll be very interesting to see what he can do, just allowing him to be creative and allowing him to play with the thoughts that go through his mind. I'm very intrigued to see how Malachi Black makes his presence felt in AEW. I think the landscape just got changed in a dramatic way.
Oh my gosh, they've been their landscape bill must be off the chart because they keep changing that landscape non-stop, and the landscape's about to be changed again too. When we confidently feel like we're going to eventually get a new crowning champion. With the way, Kenny Omega came out with a promo, and I literally, there's so many moments at tonight's show I was laughing out loud hysterically to myself when Don Callis told Tony Schiavone to go in the corner and be the geriatric Tommy Bahama model that you are. I was just like, this guy has got punch after punch and hit after hit. And then the crowd is so on fire all night. And that literally is like, the sixth man, they made such a difference. In every segment, they made such a difference. And this one especially, and then Don Callis is getting under the skin. Real men don't quit. They get fired. And so they're just eating it up. And a great pop from the Dark Order, too, when they debuted. Or not debuted, came out. And Evil Uno was cutting down Don. And then, of course, the cheesy little joke by Kenny Omega. But the cowboy shit chants. Yeah. I used that when I was in elementary school. But the cowboy shit chants were deafening. And as soon as I heard those chants, as soon as I started hearing those chants, I text you guys, I'm like, we got a new champ on our hands. I mean, the crowd is so behind it. I mean, Hangman's been over, yes. But as soon as this was a true test of like, who is still over essentially or who is not, and it's going to continue to be over these next 3-4 weeks. And boy, was that Hangman pop. That was the biggest pop of the night. Easily.
I mean,
easily.
That's saying something when you look at, you had a debut, you had the in-ring debut, Andrade, you had, some the long way, you had to see Proud and Powerful go against FTR.
I know.
This card had a lot of big moments on it, folks. And SPD, I agree with you, man. How loud this crowd was for Hangman.
Yeah.
It came across. It was one of those moments where you could feel the energy sitting at home.
You really could.
This was a real, genuine moment. And I think that this is only going to build as we get closer and closer to All Out. AEW is doing a really great job of slow playing this, of allowing it to burn, and getting us to want more and more. There was a lot of physicality in this segment, but they did a nice job of keeping Kenny and Hangman kind of separated from each other,
right?
Them getting to that all-out brawl. Very smart play. It was a long-term play, and it has us wanting more, right? I think that, the jabs that Kenny has been giving Hangman, his confidence and things like that, they're playing off of the history that these two had. I know that there was a thread that went viral about the whole story of Hangman's character.
Great props to him.
What an awesome if you guys have Twitter, there's some good stuff out there. There's a lot of people out there putting some good content out, and so to me, I think that this is going to be a story that it's clear. It's very evident from the first night we had live audiences back from COVID, when they hit the road here, that the crowd is going to be hot for this story. and I think that it's good too in like the big picture for AEW, right? That we talked about this here at Dynamite Download. There's a lot of heel champions right now. And that worked great, and it certainly is fun when you have the good guys chasing the bad guys for the
Of
title.
course.
But I think now that AEW is going on the road, SPD, and they're getting these live crowds, it'll be nice to have some champions that people want to pop for. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that we're not fighting that. It's just go all in and feel good about this champion, the guy. And I think that Hangman becoming world champion is going to really usher in a new era for AEW.
I completely agree, man. But what kind of had me kind of like thinking about stuff is when they came out and talked about how he doesn't have a challenger for Fight for the Fallen. So that's end of this month. And do you think they're gonna rush this to Fight for the Fallen, or are they gonna they've slow played this for this long? Do you think they go have a title match in 3 weeks?
I think that's too soon. I mean,
I would hope it's too soon because I want to see it all out. I want to see it when we go, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
The pop.
They could go into it and have a fall, have a dirty finish, that type of thing. And we've seen AEW embracing those dirty finishes more of late than remember. So I can see that maybe happening, but personally, I'm with you, SPD. I think that this one, you should allow this to stretch out, allow this to be stretch it out. You should allow this to play out all the way to your big. I mean, All Out is that's a hell of a show for AEW. I know that all their pay-per-views mean something, and all their pay-per-views are really important with the way that they lay it out. But I think All Out can be the Mac Daddy of the pay-per-views for AEW, and I think that the way that these stories are starting to shape up. Honestly, SPD, I would have All Out be a real cleansing of the elite from AEW.
That's good.
It would setting itself up perfectly for that. We got to see the Bucks come out on top later on in the main event of the show.
Of course, you heel.
Kenny has been dominating as champion thanks to the help of Don Callis and his buddies. But I think that if you had one night that really sent a shockwave, sent a message through the company and transformed the way it was going, I think that All Out is set to be the perfect stage to do just that.
That's a great point, man. That's a great point. The stage is set though for next week. We're getting the coffin match, which was delayed an extra week. But we had a sit down. A sit down with JR, good old JR with Ethan Page and Darby Allin, and if finally the first ever coffin match, which Ethan Page has been promising to be the nail in Darby Allin's coffin. This was a nice. I like to sit down with JR. I think he should do more. I know Bonds agreed with this. Do more of specialty commentating, pay-per-view, sit-down interviews, and things like that. And honest, even Excalibur and Tony, just the 1-2 punch could work so well together on commentary and make JR, still a good part of AEW, but just more special, for the big calls. But anyways, the content of this, just talking about the history, and that's what I loved, those, AEW fans like myself and who don't know much about Ethan Page before coming to AEW. I liked how they brought up the history and, how one came to AEW before the other and all that. And so it's really set the table, laid the silverware down, and the food's in the oven for us next week in the coffin match, man. It was a great segment.
I love this one. I've been really digging this Darby Allin versus Ethan Page feud.
Yep.
My favorite feud in AEW. We talked about that on Friday Night Fights and Flights.
Yep.
This is my favorite feud in the company right now. I think that both sides are absolutely killing it. Tonight's segment, the sit-down interview was, as you said, it was a great use of JR's his history. Sort of, seeing it all and just his presence, his demeanor. It was really it kept this segment together. And then you really got to see these two opposing sides that I think both sides of this promo brought it tonight. I mean, Darby went right away at Ethan Page about, how he was bitter from the get.
Sure.
This is a guy who's been doing it for a decade plus and was just at the same stage of his career as this young kid. And I think that, that is a different side of Darby. To me, I've always been the guy. I'm the guy who's forced to defend Darby a lot on this show, and I felt like this was
You're the conductor.
This was an example of why there's plenty of coal in the oven of the Darby Express. This baby is chugging along just fine.
Choo-choo.
Things I loved about Darby tonight was just he gets a lot of criticism for being a rag doll, for getting tossed around and kind of being bullied. In this segment, he showed no back down. He showed a hell of a backbone. He was the aggressor. He went right after Ethan Page in this promo and laid it all out there. That basically this is the story of a guy who is insecure, who has all the look and all this stuff, but inside realizes this is a guy who looks himself in the mirror and realizes that he maybe let some things go. He didn't chase his passions like he should have, and Darby was not apologetic for being successful.
Right.
I enjoyed that side of Darby having a little bit of edge and going after Ethan Page rather than him always being the one who's being the one who's receiving it, right? Obviously, that said, All Ego is quickly, and I'll say it once, I'll say it a million times, this guy is quickly establishing himself as must-see content every time he's on.
For sure.
He's quickly becoming one of the best promos in all of professional wrestling. I know he kind of carried Team Canada in Impact on the promo game. For those of us who watched him and his work before AEW, but he's elevated himself to another level. He really has. His whole presentation, his confidence, everything about him is clicking right now, and he feels very big league. And he's a part of the reason why AEW is starting to really feel like not this upstart company anymore. It's starting to I feel like AEW is really becoming more and more polished, more and more of a legitimate powerhouse in and of itself. This talent, this roster is incredibly deep. We talk about it at length, man.
So stacked.
There are so many talents on this roster that don't have stories right now or aren't featured regularly right now, and not because they're not capable of it, but because this roster has gotten so deep and has so much talent. Ethan Page really is an example to me of a reason why AEW is starting to feel like a true powerhouse in the professional wrestling industry. You have a guy who really does feel, to me, like can't miss.
That says a lot.
Ethan Page feels so can't miss to me. He just is a total package. The guy, he walks the walk, he talks the talk, he's got it, right? And I think that's why you've had such a hard time coming around to seeing the Darby side of this feud, because it's so you're captivated by what Ethan Page has been able to do. He's funny, but he also has a sadistic, badass side of him. He'll throw you down a flight of stairs. He'll cheap shot you if he has to.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like about All Ego. So I get why people are buzzing about this dude. And again, on a night where, AEW has a ton of great promos, this is a promo segment that really stood out.
It was. I agree, man, and I'm very excited for next week as well. This match, this feud to me. I mean, you said that the Page Darby feud is your favorite feud of AEW right now. Inner Circle and Pinnacle is still my favorite feud, and it hasn't slowed down one bit. And when this got announced, I mean, it's hard not to just salivate over this kind of match. I mean, every one of these people, could a one-on-one match with any of them would be insane. But just these are the true. I mean, we saw the young stars, MJF and Sammy, main event last week, and then we get to see almost the rest of the Inner Circle fight here. And so, I was absolutely thrilled for this, man. This was just so great. Seeing all these guys in the ring, I wanted more of it. I wanted more of this match. I think it was kind of Not enough time. I think this is main event worthy quality talent. I mean, this was a showcase of 6 professional wrestlers doing what they do best.
Yeah.
I loved Santana and Dax, the workhorses, the top guys going to battle right off the bat, starting things off. That was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. And then, Hager went on an awesome, crazy run. The workhorseman Dax, man, was just killing it in the ring. He was taking big bumps. He was throwing some heavy offense. And then we got to see another tease of Hager and Wardlow going toe to toe. And the ending was kind of surprising. Honestly, I was pretty surprised at the ending. I expected a little bit more shenanigans. I predicted the Pinnacle to win, kind of cheat to win again, as they should, being the dirty heels. But I expected a little bit more than just that. Maybe Wardlow get a cheap shot in as well to finish the pin. But, it just establishes FTR's finish as being a brutal finish.
Right.
So you take it as that. But I'm happy for it. And then, Conan attacked at the end and then just got another beat down by Tully. So it's like the Inner Circle had their peak. And now they're letting the Pinnacle kind of take a few steps forward, and then Inner Circle is going to stomp them again. So it's booking 101 right here. So it's great.
Right. 100% agree. The ending, SPD, what more can you – there was a distracted referee from a manager on the outside. The tag team came in, hit their finish. Wardlow got the pin. Had a lot of shenanigans. I get it. We're used in pro wrestling. If you were, I'm sure you were looking for some cold spray.
I love Cutler's cold spray.
But big picture, I felt like, the thing, I agree with you on the fact that it felt like this match, it had more to give. And I think that maybe that's because, it did suffer from some of that picture-in-picture.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. The picture-in-picture break hurts when you're really trying to get invested in a match. I don't want to. I understand the promos that commercials are needed, and I'm grateful that I get to see the action while there's a commercial going, I guess. But it just some of the placement, it hurt this match a little bit. That said, I'm focusing on the positive. I'm with you, man. I feel like every time we get to see Wardlow in action, it feels like a big deal. And like the aesthetic of the look. He had the black singlet with the green, and FTR had their green trunks on tonight. So
I like their combo for sure.
Pinnacle did a nice job of kind of having that seamless look. And it really, man, like, we talked about this so many times about rolling the dice and just getting any kind of combination. This was a nice, smart matchup of two trios groups that really made a lot of sense together. And there's, for me, like, seeing that tandem offense, it's a lot of fun. You get to see the different styles at play with the powerhouses, with Hager and Wardlow. You get to see that more of a technical kind of grind them out kind of style with Dax and FTR, and that true brawler mentality and the seamless move. Santana and Ortiz tonight had a lot of moves in their arsenal that were showcased their teamwork. FTR,
they're so good.
FTR is really well known for doing that tandem offense. They hit that big rig at the end to get the win. But at Santana and Ortiz tonight really they showcased what they're capable of, and it made me want to see these two teams go at it that much more.
We're salivating over it, man. We talked about it, like two of the best teams, two tag teams in the world, two of the best tag teams in the world, Santana and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful versus FTR, Dax and Cash. When they finally go toe-to-toe, that house is going to be torn down, and I cannot wait for that. This is a dream one we've been waiting for a long time. We are on both their sides, and we're going to be rooting for both of them just because we love professional wrestling and we love what they both can give.
Absolutely. So, and just based off
win-win.
Just based off of pure, like, in-ring talent alone, that's a great match, right?
Sure.
But when you add the fire and the vitriol that we've seen play out for half of a year now, between the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, and how bloody and just
look at you now.
Yeah, baby, I love that line still to this day.
I know.
with how personal this has gotten, that feud. And then again, two teams that pride themselves on being the best in the world. I mean, there's so many layers. This fire is going to be a roaring bonfire. This match is going to be absolutely ridiculous when we get to finally see FTR versus Santana Ortiz two on two, basically mano a mano in the middle of the ring. That's going to be one of those matchups that's going to be a banger. They're building this so well. This story is another example of slow playing it and letting us, build that anticipation. When that match happens, it's gonna be special. They've put a lot of work into this feud, all parties involved, and this feud with the Pinnacle Inner Circle has really allowed both of these teams an opportunity to showcase depth of what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Talked about it at times. Ortiz was really the level-headed one that kind of kept the group together at times during promos for the Inner Circle. Santana has emerged as a legitimate, that I know he's
top guy.
As a guy that has a lot of people buzzing about that guy's ceiling.
Sure.
Dax has completely reformed his look, has changed his workouts regimen. You could tell that dude's put in the work.
The beast.
He looks fantastic, and he has emerged as the workhorseman of the Pinnacle for a reason.
Yep.
Cash has always been that guy to me who was the powerhouse of that group, and he had no problem, dominating it at times. And now it feels like Dax has kind of met him when it comes to that power that he can bring.
Sure.
I love what we've seen out of this, and I think that both teams have elevated their star power and really their skill set of what we know they can do through this feud. I think it's really gone a long way, and that's saying something as a fan of both of these teams for a long, long time. Really think that SPD, as you said, there's a lot to love about what the Pinnacle and Inner Circle feud is giving us as fans.
It's a prime example, like we always say, iron sharpening iron, and this will be more than any other feud, iron sharpen iron. They're both gonna come out as sharp and as crisp as possible, and including the leaders of each group right here. When they went face to face, Chris Jericho and MJF. If you were following along watching the show, I mean, MJF said it. He goes, "If another one of you fat white trash Hicks want to come in the ring, I'll beat your ass too." And we found out later on that a fan did try to come into the ring. And if you see some of the video, Jericho, I think, threw a punch. And so totally unnecessary, but that just shows the power that MJF has, how bad you hate him and how bad you want to beat him up, because he is that damn good. He's that damn good at being a heel, and he's that big of a prick. And, he's right. Everyone wants a piece of the king of AEW and the MJF rub. I want to punch MJF in the face no more than any other person, obviously, because he lives, breathes, and is this arrogant, scheming heel and guy who just is such a douche to everything he does. And so he is perfect at what he does. He's rubbing everyone the wrong way, including the fans, to make it enough to get arrested. And so they got that close, man. So it was a face-to-face stipulations where Jericho has to accept any stipulation. He was going to accept any stipulation. I like how I'm it all in. What you did to the dictator John Moxley, I'm going to do to you. The tables have turned. And Jericho said that he's the god of the battle, god of the war of AEW. And so he'll do whatever it is to get to MJF. I don't know if it was just that fan threw him off, but Jericho still was smooth as butter, but he just didn't seem fully into it to me. I don't know if that, he usually eats up the crowd more. I know he silenced them, said Y2J is dead. That was a while ago, and he ate into the crowd a little bit, but I don't know. It wasn't the same hysteric, crowd pump up or Jericho that we're used to seeing. I don't know. But he was still smooth, delivered a killer Judas effect, and MJF literally was out.
I mean, MJF's dude, that dude he's as must see as it gets in pro wrestling.
You're right.
Every time he's on, man, you want to hear what he has to say. Just his mannerisms are always phenomenal. He just gets it. It's so obvious that he's authentic when he says that he's a student of this game, that he
Right.
loves pro wrestling business. It pains me to say it, but he's every bit as good as he says he is. He's that talented at what he does. And you said okay, it did feel maybe to you, and this says a lot coming from an inner circle Mark like you.
That's sure.
It felt like Jericho was rattled a little bit with the way things played out or whatever. I thought it went smoothly. I didn't catch any of that really. But it's a testimony to MJF, just these two guys are the pros.
Sure.
When things could go off the rails, they don't with them. They always have a way of keeping things on course and delivering a home run segment. I think that this was an absolutely fun and intelligent little promo battle that these guys had. You mentioned MJF, calling on the history of Jericho and really how awful the inner circle was in their early days.
Right.
And all the hell that Jericho put Moxley through in order to get an opportunity.
Sure.
I really loved how MJF played off of that history and leaned into it. As far as acknowledging Jericho's past. And letting that past come back to haunt him. I think that, again, this is another example. Every time that MJF gets an opportunity to have some real mic time, his promos are not only just stuff that get you to hate him. He's not he's not just cutting promos that make you despise him, which he's good at doing that, but he's also really just an intelligent dude. I mean, just talking about the trials that Jericho's going to have to go through and interweaving the mythology stuff in here. It was fun. It was fun to have that layer of the story. And it makes me intrigued to see what's going to come ahead. And not only does Jericho have to beat every member of MJF's choosing, he didn't make it clear that it had to be a member of the Pinnacle. We'll see. I mean, obviously, more than likely, that's what it feels like.
Right.
But 5 opponents of MJF's choosing, and in a stipulation of his choosing. Really intelligent stuff by MJF, and again, how many times do we talk about this? The trail of breadcrumbs that we just want to keep coming back for more and more and more. This is going to be that story, right? This is just right now. They just placed the first little breadcrumb, and now we're going to kind of want to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. This feud is beautiful.
Can't wait.
This is beautiful. I mean, again, think about it. For a feud where you have a guy who's gone 0-2 in the one-on-one matchups, you still have immense.
Sure.
You have a ton of intrigue on what's going to happen because of the way that they played this out. I thought this was really good stuff. Home run segment for me, really good, from both sides. And MJF getting knocked out to end the segment is always a way to make the fans go home happy on that. That was a fantastic way to wrap things up and shut that punk up.
Yes, it did what everyone wanted to do.
Yes.
Man, that was for sure.
Face.
I know it's not a Dynamite download episode if we don't touch base on Britt Baker real quick. Even it was a quick promo. We talk about maximizing her minutes. Once again, she's going to make the Big D, Dallas, be the Big DMD. She threw some low blows across the pond, about the blood money and how she's going to be sending back Nyla Rose back to obscurity. And so it was an effective promo, and it made sense to tie it into Vicky Guerrero coming out with Andrade next. And just get us hyped up. What did you think of this promo? I know it's always great. It was so great that the waiting room is back on Dark. It's a segment that I think should be incorporated with Dynamite as well down the line. But I like how it's on Dark, so it's just kind of free and there's no restrictions or no picture-in-picture. We don't want to get a picture-in-picture in a women's segment because we usually always do, sadly. And so I'm always for, love the waiting room and love when Britt's on TV because she's so smooth. You talk about back-to-back top heel moments, MJF and DMD, which we continue in crossing our fingers. She's not going to get the homecoming babyface pop when she faces Nyla.
Oh, she
soon.
will. She
I
will.
know.
She's gonna send Nyla with her tail between her legs, and she's gonna have her like running off. This is gonna be This was after Britt took that beating, got that savage power bomb through the table. It was just absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
And her assistant Rebel got injured. It's easy to wonder what's going to happen to the DMD. Is going to shake her confidence, but in typical Britt Baker fashion, she came back and was that much more fired up this week. That I felt like tonight's promo absolutely hit it. Britt always has a way in her promos, man. She always has a line or two that always just hits on another level. I mean, I talk just that Saudi line. You heard people in the arena like, oh, She's just always has a way of going for the jugular, hitting hard. Very, very reflective of why DMD is where she is now. Knows how to navigate bad situations and turn them into positives for herself. I think that there was also some seeds being planted here with some discord between Britt and Rebel. With Britt continuing to make comments about how, my assistant. You could tell you could tell Rebel was kind of getting, even had moments where she was kind of doing some stuff behind the DMD while Britt was talking, and her expressions. I'm wondering if Rebel's gonna start this whole thing is gonna wear thin on Britt. And again, we talk about heel, face turns for DMD. You never know. Rebel could end up turning against her. You'd never know what can happen. I hope that doesn't go. I mean, we'll see. I do think that I think AEW did a nice job of leaning into what works with the DMD segments. And again, with Nyla, her presence, that speaks for itself. So they allowed Britt to kind of come out, hit a good promo, go after Nyla, lay down the gauntlet basically, and make it clear she's not backing down from the native beast. And that's exactly what we needed to see. We needed to see Britt, especially after the last week's show, being left laying, seeing Rebel getting taken out by medical crew. There was a lot of concern about where the DMD is going to be at, especially fresh off the heels of winning this title. You start to see chinks in the armor this soon. The DMD did a lot to try to remind the fans that there are no chinks in the armor. She's just fine, and she is every intention on putting Nyla Rose to the back of the line. So I thought this was a home run segment. Again, it delivered just like you said, back-to-back heels, cutting incredible promos. Really impressed by how Britt Baker navigated a tough situation, and has me wondering what she's going to do when we get to Dallas.
Yes, well said for sure. And I've been wondering for a long time since his debut of what Andrade El Idolo was going to do when he joined the ring, and the crowd was hot for him, man. Was he ever? And I like this pairing as your debut match in AEW because I'm a huge Seidel fan. I think he can work high, he can work the ground, he can sell great. I think it worked really well. Very surprising, before I praised this match, I was very surprised that AEW decided to put a picture-in-picture commercial break in the middle of a debut, a very popular and very praised debut match. One we're looking forward to. The pop that Andrade got when he debuted was phenomenal. But they decided to do that picture-in-picture, which I guess will gain you more time in the match, but at the same time, it slows the momentum for me. I mean, it's different when you're there live. But that was a little surprising to me that they did that picture-in-picture in there. But anyways, I loved right away the mask entrance. I really thought that was great. I know with the promo you were showing the mask, I really enjoyed that Andrade was wearing the mask. I was hoping, I think his ring attire, should be a little bit adjusted. I'm not for those pinstripe pants, kind of like Gangster Mob. I mean, I think the gimmick is good, but maybe to wrestle in something different. That all aside, Andrade showed us what he's made of. Showed us why he's a star across the world. I'll let you go because the clock's going off.
You're good. No, I agree with you. Everything about Andrade's whole presence, right? Like, for those of us who know where he comes from and what he's done, it's obvious and it's evident that this dude has the swagger of a superstar. And AEW's done a nice job of allowing him to be presented as such to this point. I will say I'm already kind of curious about the pairing of Andrade and Vicky together. I wonder if Andrade needs. I get it. I get that English is not his first language, and that you want to have somebody help him with some of the promos. But I think that Andrade has enough. I think that the fans want to see him as a face. I mean, and that's me as Mr. Heel. I think that Andrade,
he was getting that pop. He was getting that face pop.
Yeah, he's just. There's something about this guy. He's just his natural charisma. And when you allow him to just do what he does best in the ring, I think that's the way to go with Andrade. I get that he's got that cockiness that makes you want him to be sometimes presented as a heel.
Right.
But this dude is a showman. And that flash, that natural understanding of how to play to a crowd, that translates all over the world, and that's why he's been a global phenomenon. He understands how to connect with an audience. I think that they're just this is really an opportunity for AEW to tap into a superstar that could take them to another level. I know that you don't want to just go heel or babyface all the time. I know that there's some characters that walk that gray area, but Andrade feels like if they present him right, could be a legitimate guy who can be a believable, compelling babyface, which is a hard thing to do in professional wrestling these days. He's a fun guy to watch. In this match, as you getting into the match itself, this was a great debut for Andrade because have a guy like Seidel, who JR emphasized, throughout the match, is a true veteran. Has seen it all. And in-ring styles, I know SPD, that's what you were excited about this match. In-ring styles, it's just such a great blend. Mirror, in a lot of ways, these two mirror each other. Guys who can go and do a lucha libre, do some high flying, but also have some abilities to do technical work that is as good as anyone in the world, right? So just really a blending of styles in this one, and it was evident that these two connected. They clicked. The match was very seamless. Was overall pretty smooth. Again, agree with you that the picture-in-picture hurts, but in some way, shape, or form, we as fans sometimes need to just come to. It's hard to say this, but come to peace. The show we're watching is meant for advertisements. That's how they make money. So
that's true. They make more money on that than pay-per-views. So
I mean, when eyes are going to be on the product, those commercial, the rates for the commercial go up. And I think that when they knew, people are going to be watching Andrade's debut, and I felt like he delivered. I think that it'll be interesting to see how things continue to play out from here. Andrade made it very clear as soon as he debuted, right, that he's coming for championships. So, is he a believable contender for Kenny in the near future, or do you see him going after Miro? I think that that's a really interesting way that you could go. And either way, I think the fans are going to be in for a treat.
That's a win-win. I mean, before we moved on to the next segment, the intergender match, that the in-ring stuff was really impressive with Andrade, and I really love that moonsault landing and then another, backflip onto that. That it just showed like the control and the capability as like a move that I have never seen. So it was pretty cool to see that. And then just to really stomp on it at the end and hurt Seidel even more to kind of push the heel. But I think he's going to naturally get over with the crowd, like we're seeing with the DMD for sure. And someone who works so much better with a crowd is Orange Cassidy. And, you know, obviously the little baby kicks work so well and they're so fun to cheer along with. And Orange Cassidy's gimmick is tenfold better with a crowd than it is, you know, without a crowd. And that, you know, you don't, I mean, creating a gimmick, good or bad, you feed off the crowd. And, you know, listening to Lana's podcast with Chris Jericho today, I didn't finish it, but she was just saying how it's so much different with the crowd. And, you know, you get the pop and then you can ride the crowd's wave and you can ride the boos, ride the cheers. And so it gives you the adrenaline, it gives you the fuel to keep going. So this match, you know, the second intergender match I think the standout of this match was definitely Statlander. She's an absolute beast, man. She's so strong that paused suplex, that 451 splash, which I didn't even know she had in her arsenal. I was absolutely impressed with Statlander, and no wonder, you know, it's so good to have her back in the division. She really just makes the division that much better. And Blade, you know, obviously we miss Butcher and we love Butcher and the Blade, but it's really great to see Blade, you know, keep pushing in this intergender stuff, and with his, you know, with Bunny is working so well. We can't wait for Butcher to be back. That mustache is missed. He's missed on TV, and the Butcher and the Blades, you know, Hitmen stuff is definitely missed, and it's a great addition to AEW for sure. But Statlander definitely was the standout moment of this. So, boop on that.
Yeah, no, dude, you nailed it. I feel like Statlander has been on the rise since she returned from her injury. There's been a lot of buzz about her being a potential title contender. The more we see of her, the better she looks, better now than I've ever seen her. You know, I feel like she conditioning wise, you could tell she came back stronger than she did before her injury. And as you pointed out, I mean, there were moments in this match that there's no other way to put it. She had my jaw dropped. You know, her blend of strength and athleticism was really on display tonight. Was very impressed by what she was capable of doing. The intergender stuff, you know, those rules about how, you know, like the men can't fight the women can't fight the men. It can sometimes create like awkward moments in a match.
Yeah, for sure.
And that this one fell victim to that at points, but I felt like it navigated that in a decent way. I still think that AEW, I mean, we've seen a lot of these performers come through the ranks and have done true intergender wrestling, and I think that AEW is a company that I can trust to do it in a classy, like, smart way. I understand why it's difficult to want to dip your toes into that, but I think that they could do it. You know, I think that there's a lot of performers on the AEW roster who could help put together a believable and talented intergender match. So, but that said, SPD, the energy for this one, considering the card where it was placed in the card, and sort of how it came together, I was impressed by, you know, the way that these crews connected with the fans. It shouldn't have been. I should have known better. The best friends have a way that they connect with the fans. And this one was a great example. The good guys won. Everybody left feeling good about it. And they did so in a way that, you know, even though, good guys lost this match, but they make you feel like there's a moment where there's that positivity that comes out of that connection that they have. I know the Butcher used those brass knucks again.
No, they still won. OC still won.
They came out on top. Good.
I know, it was a crazy match. I mean, everything threw me for a loop because there's so many highs and lows of this match. It's like, or this card. It was so stacked and so many different promos and so many different things, and like they squeezed everything in and they touched base. I mean, obviously we didn't get to see Miro. We saw Lance Archer, you know, it's come a surprise debut. So I think for being back in live shows. I think they did really well. I was it was interesting the way that the setup of the arena, how the camera angle was shot from the ramp versus the side. Typically you see it from the side, and so I think the set was great. The crowd was absolutely hot. They did a phenomenal job. And we'll talk about the main event, and we're going to cover a lot more segments on our Friday night show, and our special edition show tomorrow night. So that we're joining a couple friends with. So let's talk about the main event, and then we'll sign off to the sunset. Hopefully you get some power back. I know you're riding dirty in your car right now, finish things off. But Young Bucks and Penta El Zero and Eddie Kingston in a street fight. And I said it online and I tweeted about it. The Young Bucks entrances are quickly becoming one of my favorite things to watch and anticipate for every single week on Dynamite. Every time they switch it up, they're even more and more cocky every week. They have better danglies every week, different wardrobe every week. I am so bummed they shaved the stashes though, because I'm such a huge stash fanatic. So I get switching the gimmick up, but I think they should have done at least stash for a couple weeks.
I know.
That being said, I love their jean shorts and just Don Callis being the hype man on commentary for us at home, and really hyping it up, man. It was a
match too. I mean, they showed we got to see some thumbtacks coming out.
Brutal, yeah.
I mean, for the Bucks, they dropped that EVP line not that long ago, and
always.
About the Young Bucks, you don't necessarily the first thing to come to mind is not violent usually, right? There's a showmanship vibe to them. There's a lot of super kick party, a lot of that comes to mind, but you don't think violence, you don't think street fighting, you don't think that mentality. And for them to be able to hang tonight, and I mean, they took, to their credit, they took everything that Eddie Kingston and Penta could throw at them.
Did they ever?
For them to be able to hang through that, to take the garbage can shots to the head, and also destroyers and all sorts of, for them to be able to do all that and still come out on top. The Bucks are definitely clicking on another level right now. This run with this title, I know early on in their title reign was kind of characterized for them facing a lot of unheralded teams, a lot of young teams. There's no contention with what they're doing now, man. They're beating everybody that's coming their way. Even though by hook or by crook, you got to give the devil their due. These guys are killing it right now.
Killing the game, just like they said in their book, man. But there was stuff everywhere in the ring. It was a hot mess the whole time. There was just stuff everywhere. Some great high spots. I mean, that destroyer that Penta did through the table was unbelievable. And we got to see, obviously, the Bad Brothers, the Good Brothers come out, and then the Elite Hunter. Kind of similar stuff that we've been seeing, trends. So I don't know where they're going to be going with this. What's the long-term booking is this? Like I said, I still stand by it. I was hoping for, you have Penta, Eddie, and the Elite Hunter, and then you have four of them, so you're missing a guy. So if you have the return of Ray Phoenix, then Ray Phoenix and Penta team up and then dethrone the Young Bucks, if you keep stretching that out somehow. But Kazarian, I like that he's still going for this. We're not seeing Christopher Daniels because of the breakup, but I really think it's I like it, but I'm curious of what's next. What match do you book next if you continue to book this feud, or do you think the Young Bucks tackle someone in the rankings now? Are they going to have a rematch? Is there going to be another number one contender match, Varsity Blondes versus the Acclaimed, and then have the winner of that again? Since both teams have already faced the Young Bucks, but who knows? I'm really liking it. Pure madness in the ring, great way to finish it. And Don Callis said it best. Eddie was taking definitely the most brunt of this. He's taking the most abuse. Man, he's going to have to hit the cold ice bath afterwards of this, man. He's going to be feeling it, and he's going to have to see a dentist too. Maybe the DMD can take a look at his mouth after getting all those thumbtacks to the mouth, so whew.
It was a brutal match. As always, there was outside interference that kind of got tainted some of the way that this match went.
But they call their shots on BTE. We need to cheat more.
I love that. I love that. And it's getting them heat, which is great.
Right.
So, but I mean, as you said, there's a good and bad about this, right? Like we've seen the Bucks beat some sort of combination between Kingston, Penta, Moxley, Pac. We've seen some sort of combination of them get beat.
Yeah.
Bucks quite a bit now. Where does this go?
Yeah.
That's a good and bad thing, right? Like you're left wondering, like, okay, like what's going to happen? Like, and how many more combinations can I see of the Bucks going over? But then you also have anticipation of like, who's finally going to be the ones that can take these guys down? That mystique and aura of having a strong champion is a lost art in a lot of ways. Like you gotta protect those champions and make them feel unbeatable at times. And which we've been like exhausted by the Bucks, like their championship reign and by how they've won matches and how despicable they are. But it makes you appreciate this reign that much more. I'm intrigued by where it goes from here. No clear championship contenders emerging as believable team that can take them off right now, and that's to me exciting about the big picture of the AEW tag division. Where do they go? What anything could happen. It feels like the shoe is going to drop, and that's I guess that's the best part about being a wrestling fan is not knowing. We want a fantasy book all the time, and we want to think that we have it all figured out, but it's fun when we genuinely get surprised. And I think that the way this feud is going, there's a surprise down the road.
That you're absolutely right, man. I can't wait. There's so much to look forward to, and we just saw an awesome show, which we're going to touch base more on some of the depth promos that we didn't get a chance to tonight. Tomorrow's collaboration show at 7:15 and Friday Night Flights and Fights. So make sure to join us on that as well. But I mean, we had an awesome debut of hitting the road at Dynamite, and we didn't even get to see Pac. We didn't even get to see Jade. We didn't even get to see Jungle Boy. We didn't get to see Muro. I mean, we didn't get to see the Acclaim, some of our favorites and some of the top stars of AEW, and there was nowhere to put them right now. And you had such a stacked card. You can just make that's why Rampage is coming. So you can have a whole nother Dynamite with all 100% fresh faces, and that's what's really exciting. And there keeps being more and more surprises, more and more new people added. So it's just like it's
incredible. But to me, I think that the excitement that's coming around the AEW product and the depth of the depth that the company has, SPD, it's wild. You would have thought that your power went out, but
I just did the Tommy End.
I like it. No, I hear you. Like with Rampage right around the horizon here, there's plenty of excitement about seeing more of these characters get more opportunities, having more of these stories play out. The roster certainly has the depth for it, and I think the fan base is going to support it. I think that the Rampage is going to be a huge success. And I'm excited to see how those shows play off of each other. Are they going to
Me too. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Are they going to be treated as separate entities? Are they going to bleed into each other? That is going to be intriguing, big picture. Yep.
And we'll talk more about that coming up this week. Thank you guys for joining us, Crayfish. Hopefully you get some power back. Y'all know where to find us. Stay safe, everyone. I know Jacksonville and Florida is getting hit with some storms. We hit with some storms. Crayfish lost some power, but stay tuned to our Instagram, Twitter, and for updates on our showings or our shows this week, plus some great content. So thank you all for joining us, and goodbye and good night.